Hey everyone, my name is Serge, and I thought I'd do something a little bit different and bring to you a ImpDip after action report of just 1 year. This is B2B Bluebell, and I'm playing as England in 1652. So I thought this was just a good example of late game colonial press, and what's kind of needed to in a rather interesting endgame. So I thought a little bit to set the scene. I am subbing in as England as a temp sub for Enderman, who went for a solo a couple years ago and was knocked back by a global coalition. And this is the board state when we take over. I was spectating him for just this 1 year, so I kind of got a little bit of an idea of what was happening when I stepped in to take over. So let's just run around the board. Starting with Tokugawa nearly soloed this year, and they are like 20% ahead of Safavids roughly, and England and Sweden both hovering around in the 90s. The actual English position I do not think is very good. Let's start with Africa. We've got a lot of units, and they are all over the place. This is a horribly disjointed position. We're clearly at war with Portugal. The Sweden player is also kind of started pressing for a solo in the last year, but then got stabbed by Safavids, Austria, and England, and then subbed out. So the Sweden player is also subbed in just half a year before I did. The Athapaska and Ute are pressing England jointly. My understanding is this was part of the coalition. It had been happening for a while, but Ute had been pressing England all through the last year about I'm going to help you, and then not. They did that in spring, and they did it in fall. And in the fall moves, they helped Atha take these dots, and also had this deliberate forced retreat that is going to be a bone of contention, even though, England's helping them here. And this was kind of the last straw for Ender. He went, no, I need a break. Which is fair enough. After a failed solo attempt, it can be pretty tiring to keep the effort up when you thought the game should have been over by now. So the position that we come into is this. So I sub in about an hour after the fall moves go through, and I'm looking at this map. The first thing I do is message Tokugawa and Safavids, who are the two top powers, and say, hey, there are 4 endgame options here. 1 is we go for a 4-way impunity with Sweden. 2, we go for a 3-way impunity and we cut Sweden. 3, you guys try to duo together. Or 4, Tokugawa solos while we're trying for one of the other 3. I know that obviously you guys aren't going to answer if the answer is 4 or 3, but tell me which one should I try to get us towards out of the first 2 options. Do you want to keep Sweden or cut Sweden? And both of them say they want to cut Sweden, which isn't exactly what I wanted to hear, but I just needed something so I could hit the ground running, because there is a good chance we could impunity this year. Obviously, we only need 6 dots between us, but I think England's growth position is not great, given how much pressure there is in North America. There's no more growth in the Caribbean. Africa is a complete disjointed mess of guesses. And Europe, we're trapped in by Sweden pressuring us, and it takes too long to get in here on Austria. So I'm told that, no, we're going to cut Sweden. And so that's kind of the thing I'm running with as we start the game. I also know I can't trust Ute. Anything Ute says, I'm going to... Their press means nothing to me unless I see it on the board. And luckily, there's a very clear, easy thing on the board. If they retreat to Tutello and not Maryland, that is a very clear sign that they're willing to work with me in at least some way. So that is my main press goal for this phase, is control this retreat. So my pitch to both Ute and to Athabasca is, hey, Tokugawa is going to keep growing this year. They've got a lot of easy growth. Safavids needs to stay in second place to stay in range of them. And then you need me or Sweden to stay in range of Safavids to prevent a duo. However, Sweden is fighting Safavids, me, and Austria. They just went -4 this year. They've got all these Austrian units running around inside their lines. You need me. Stop pressing me quite so hard. I get it, like particularly Athabasca, you need to press me, but if you like crumple my position in North America, which they've been slowly pushing back, then you're going to lose the game to a solo or a duo. You need me. Stop hitting me. So, in that regard, retreat to Tutello, do not retreat to Maryland. And Ute's like, oh yeah, Atha says I must retreat to Maryland. And I'm like, this is a very obvious thing. I go to Atha, hey, Ute says you're saying they must retreat to Maryland. I know that, like, whether or not that's the case, but like, you guys need to work together and not press me so hard, or we lose the game. And Atha's like, yeah, Ute set on retreating to Maryland. This is something that we cooked up last year. They want to do it. They're not changing their mind based off your press. I go back to Ute and I say, hey, Atha knows that if you retreat to Tutello, it's not because you're stabbing them. They would just think that you're agreeing to my pitch on don't kill me quite so hard. Like, you can take a dot or two, but like, stop trying to tear apart my position. And try to do anything I can to get this Tutello retreat. I push quite hard. This is the biggest conversation I have in this phase of press. But it doesn't work. They go to Maryland in the end. As for myself, I go to Oneida, and that is because I've already decided what builds I'm going to do, and when I'm making this decision, so I'll get to that once I talk about builds. This one comes off the board, and the other one I've got is Belize, which I disband as well. Oh, and this one falls back together. I do not want to take this one off because I think Africa is one of the main areas where I can grow. I will also, in terms of other opening messages, Congo was a very interesting one. So they pretty much opened their messaging to me with a, hey, I want to work with you. Portugal, and they outlined their history with Portugal. Portugal had stabbed them in the past. They'd gotten back together, but then if we look at the moves here, Portugal had offered to support England into Ouagadougou last year, and that was the last straw for Congo, that they can't trust Portugal anymore. They want to work with England here. I'm quite glad to hear that. Reviewing the last years of Ender's moves, it was clear he wasn't fully engaged. We had semi-agreements with Port where they're going to support us into Ouagadougou, but then they tried to take Niani behind. But then it all failed because we went in with the wrong unit. It was just poor coordination on some of these things. There was an agreement with Portugal where they get Gen, but then we get Ouagadougou, but then they tried to go back. So I didn't trust Portugal either. And the position pretty much demanded that we fight. But Congo is offering me support against Portugal. That's great news. Other press with Portugal, they are saying... I didn't really believe anything Portugal said, and I thought they weren't going to believe anything I said either. So I kind of pitched them, hey, how about you help me into Ouagadougou, and you help me into Agadez, and so I take those two. Then you can take Arguin and Niani, and then in fall I'll take Cormonton. And that nets us all to both of us +1, with Congo and Safford's going -1, and our position is a lot more combined, where I'll have this down here, this coast, and then eventually I'll get Niani back, probably for Degen, and then it'll be like Portugal, and England gets the rest. That was the pitch I sent to them with no intention of actually following through. Other opening messages. I'm going around the board. I'm saying hi to everyone. In Ayataya, this is a minor bone in my teeth which sticks from here. I'm going around. Sending everyone a fairly generic hello message to Ayataya. I'm just like, hey, are you throwing the Tokugawa here? Because if you are, there's no point in me like going balls to wall pressing everyone here. Which was kind of meant as a flippant joke, but I don't know them, and they did not take that very well, and pretty much meant they didn't dislike me right from the start. Wasn't the most important thing, but that's what happened there. And the other interesting opening message was Aymara, who is played by King of Prussia, a very well-known player. Clearly, there'd been a bit of a DMZ, as Aymara's been fighting in the other regionals. With England here, but there's more and more of these England fleets have been moving in the last year. If we look at the moves, yeah, so we've moved into Kira Rise, and we've cleared off Pamubo for a build. So it's also very clear that if I build an army here, Colonial is 100% guaranteed dot. And I pretty early suss out that I'm going to go negative here. I'm probably going to go neutral in Europe. In Africa, I might get +1, but I have a guaranteed +1 here. +1 dot. Thank you very much. So I say I'm pretty new to the game. I've only played 2 games of ImpDip and no games of any other dip, so I don't really know how to press for someone I'm going to attack, and I can't hide the attack either. If I build army Pamubo, Cop's going to know about it. He's not an idiot. So I'm like, hey, sorry, I'm trying to prevent the game from ending. I need a dot. I'm going to be taking Kalina. Is what it is. To which Cop's immediate response is, if you attack me, I will throw the game to Tokugawa. Like, this is like 2 lines into our conversation. Which is very interesting to hear from King of Prussia, because King of Prussia, quite famously, doesn't like throwers. He runs ImpDip tournaments, and he kicks players out who throw, as in he doesn't let them sign up. He's a very anti-throw player. And I say that to him. I'm like, mate, you run tournaments where people aren't allowed to throw. I don't believe you're going to throw over me one-dotting you. And he's doubles down. He's like, I will throw to Tokugawa if you dot me. And I don't believe him, but I just say, all right, well, I will consider and get back to you. This has big outcomes over the course of the year. All right, so let's see the retreats. Now it is, so Ute goes forward and they are pitching me this plan where I do this, and then they do this, so that these 2 units pop into Tello. That's the concept that they're sending of how we've, because they've moved to Maryland, Atha's not going to think they're going to stab, so now we can like pop these 2 units, and then they can redeploy Maryland onto the front lines next year, and Erie's off out of my face, and I hate this plan entirely. So this is, I guess, what Ute pitches me over the course of the next couple of days, and we'll see how that plays out. But for now, let's talk about my builds. So, I have 4 builds after I disband Belize. They are almost all off disbands. I think we went +0 or -1 for the year. So, I've only got a certain number of spots to build. First of all, Pamubo is guaranteed +1 dot. I'm taking that. I'm building a army in Pamubo, and then I'm going to take Colina and try to take Bellum. Antigua. Actually, before I go further, I just want to say I'm next to certain this game is going to end in the next 2 years. I don't think that there's, given sort of Tokugawa's position, they're going to mop up Ming. They're going to keep pushing on Ayutthaya. They're going to mop up Portugal. They're going to keep pushing Safavids. I think Tokugawa is going to get a solo, or there's going to be an impunity vote in the next 2 years. Basically meaning that any build I'm putting down, I only care about what it can do in the next 2 years, particularly in the next 1 year. So Army Pamubo is a guaranteed +1 build. I want that. Antigua is worthless. It doesn't reach a single dot in this year. All it does is defense against these Portuguese SAO dots fleets if they come for the Caribbean. That's the only thing it can do. Similarly for Bahamas, similarly for Bermuda, similarly for Bradderhild. Can't reach any dots this year. It's just defense if these fleets come north, which they might not. And also, if let's say, for example, I build a fleet in Bermuda to help defend Gulf of Maine, it doesn't, or to defend Bermuda itself, then they just go for Bradderhild, or they go for Azores, or they go into Sargasso Sea and go for Bahamas. So I basically go all in on offense. So Pamubo, that's my build there. There isn't actually anywhere I can build in Africa. I don't have Cormonton, and Cabo Verde is covered. Europe, first impression feels like you go, great, I want a army here so I can convoy over, or if I could, I'd build in London and try to get to Utrecht and get more armies on the mainland. That feels like you could do something. However, I don't have a fleet in English Channel, which means I can't convoy from Plymouth. I can't build in London, so it would mean I have to convoy from Oxford, and I would have to convoy like this. And if I'm convoying like that, I don't have enough support holds on North Sea to prevent the 1, 2, 3, 4 units from immediately cutting it, because the convoy is so bleedingly obvious. So building in Oxford or Plymouth isn't actually going to get me anything offensively. An army, a fleet isn't going to get me anything either, that these fleets are already here. So I'm actually, my builds wind up being reasonably dictated. St. John's does help with Nescapi, but I don't think I need it, given I'm in Labrador Sea here. So it comes down to Boston, Falmouth, and Belize. Belize is an interesting one. So this Spanish fleet has been running around the Caribbean for the last couple of years, just taking a dot, with it being chased by this English fleet. I look at this and go, the immediately bleedingly obvious moveset for Spain is a bounce in Windward Passage in spring, take Baracoa in fall. Cap 8 can't do anything to stop that, and Spain will get a +1 off me. So I need another fleet to help control that. I don't want to send one of these two north, because that would let Aymara, who I know is pissed at me because I'm building Pamubo, come up here and take one of these two. So I don't like that. Also, Spain has a unit here in Yucatan, so I want a fleet in Belize, and which means that this does two things. One, it stops Spain from dotting me in Belize, but also if I offer Spain support back into Mexico City, then Belize can go this way and stop Jamaica from getting Baracoa, which means that this build here actually protects 2 dots. So this is actually my best build, despite being a really weird one with only 1 fleet and 1 army opposing it in the whole region, and I've already got several fleets here. This is my best build. It does 2 things at once, protects 2 dots, and that brings me to Falmouth and Boston. I know I'm going to have 1 unit running around my backlines. I really don't want 2. So I pretty quickly settle on double armies here, so I can go to Mohawk, I can go to Estrie, I can fall back to Quebec, and then I can force Ville Marie out without having it have a forward retreat. It's a big commitment, and I didn't fully consider lines where I have a fleet here. However, my goal for this region is to go -1. I want to get Ville Marie back, and I'm expecting to kind of lose 2 of these, probably Seneca and Philadelphia, or Seneca New Amsterdam, something like that. And I'm okay with that. I could try to outguess and do better than that, but I'm just trying to look for the most guaranteed sort of lines, and I have, if I fill all these ones, I've got guaranteed Ville Marie back. They can't get all 3 of these. -1, I'll live with that. So I set on the 2 armies. I know a fleet, I didn't really consider lines with fleet here, because forcing Ville Marie, it comes through here, and the position just is falling apart. They have lines to tap Quebec, and they'd be able to get pressure on this too. So all my builds were reasonably dictated to me, I thought. And so that's what we get. Army Palmubo, and Fleet Belize. This is where I get my first interesting set of things to happen. So King of Prussia posts in the public chat that he will be throwing to Tokugawa because I have built in Kalina and will be dotting him. Which made me have to scramble pretty quick. I started getting a couple messages from people, and one of them was this message from from Ayataya. Because I was on my computer at the time, this message popped up as a notification because he'd responded. It pinged me. Like, literally, I got a notification down the bottom corner, and I clicked it, thinking it would take me to my Ayataya channel. It did not take me to my Ayataya channel. It took me to the public chat, because that's where he'd pinged me. I did not notice this, and I responded as if this was private chat. And I said, don't believe him. Dude runs tourneys where he bans players who throw. You think he's going to throw over 1.stab. That is not the message I would have sent if I realized this was public. Having said this, this was just like throwing gasoline on the fire. And all of a sudden, I'm getting blasted from Ute, from Ayataya. Cop weighs in again. Austria weighs in. Pasca weighs in. I'm just getting blasted for attacking a guy and taking a dot, and even though he's the one who's threatening the throw, which I found hilarious, but also very annoying. And Ute was quite annoyed at me in public and in private. Maybe they were playing it up for the purpose of press and they're trying to bully me it, but I did not like it. They saw my builds. They said clearly my tactics are bad. Clearly I don't know how to read a map. I'm a bull in a china shop. I'm upsetting the balance down in South America. I'm a bad player, basically, was the gist of it. Did not appreciate this. I've played 2 games of ImpDip. I've won 2 games of ImpDip. This person has no idea who I am. I told them in advance that if you retreat to Maryland, I will be building 2 units here. And then I did that, and now they're yelling at me for it. Both in public and in private. So that was very exciting. Let me pull up my notes here. Alright, so that brings us to spring moves. Let's start with Ute again. So, after the big blow up with Aymara, the next day, Ute and I start talking again. It's like, okay, can we come to some sort of deal here? They're still talking about, oh yeah, I'll stab out the Pasca. Let's do my dislodge Maryland plan, and then dislodge Erie plan, and then they pop. And I'm just like, this plan is awful. If I'm committing Philadelphia, doing something south, you can just move into New Amsterdam for free. You can take Seneca for free, because Philadelphia is not supporting. Then you can take Philadelphia and fall. I'm not doing anything which risks I will do moves with you, but I'm not going to do moves with you which risk me getting dotted. And so I say, but they're intent on, we need to disband Maryland so I can rebuild it over here and get to the front lines. To which my response was, look, just pull Maryland into Erie. I will cover Tutello, which will cause Erie to pop. And then in fall, if you really want me to pop a unit, I can pull into this into Erie and pop Maryland too. This took a long conversation to get there because we had some heated feelings with each other already. But and then at that time, I had to step away for a little bit, and I said, "Look, if you're happy doing this sort of moveset, have a think of other things you can do with all these units. For example, here's a stupid line. If you cover this, that goes there. These two units go in there. This goes here. This goes like this. We can pop both Erie and Miami. I think you would also have to backfill one of these. And I said at the time, this is a bit stupid, but like there are fun things we can do if we're doing this as one part. There are other things you can do where you won't necessarily have to worry about Miami. There is that plan where you pop it, or you can do something else. I'm heading away for a bit. Come back half an hour later, and they're like, yeah, I'll do that. Now, this was I'll do that double pop of Miami and Erie. I'm like, this is suspicious. I don't like it's a bad plan. I know it's a bad plan. But then they said yes, which makes me very suspicious of what of them agreeing to it, which makes me think they're not doing it. Now, the other thing was, right at the start of this conversation, they'd actually told me their agreed moveset with Athabasca, which was Maryland up with support from Erie and Ville Marie down with support from Detroit. And we were basing our various counter moves on what these two Atham units were doing. But then they've gone and agreed to this stupid, ridiculous plan where we're popping Miami, which means that I now don't think that this is the move set, but also it doesn't really matter if it is or isn't, because I'm kind of looking for the best defensive line anyway, and I'm not willing to really risk getting Seneca popped here in spring. But they told me that this was the moveset, and I haven't heard from Athabasca yet this phase. The next day, I do hear from Athabasca, and Athabasca tells me, hey, Ute and I have agreed to this set of moves. Which was very interesting, because Ute gave me this set of moves, and they are either lying about it, and this is a coordinated campaign for both of them, or Ute genuinely does want to stab. Has agreed to this weird, silly moveset. And I'm just like, this made me more inclined to believe Ute was stabbing, because Atha had just given me the same moveset. Sort of. I weigh up. At this point, Ute then asks me, hey, has Atha said anything to you yet? And I said, I weighed up and I say, actually, Atha just told me the same moveset that you did, which means that either the two of you are coordinating something, a disinformation campaign, in which case, good job, or this is further confirmation that you should stab Atha, because clearly they're leaking your moves and they don't trust you either. I figure if it's the former, me telling you about this isn't going to change your likelihood to stab. So whatever. If it's the latter, it's going to increase your likelihood to stab. So I make the decision to tell you, and I tell them that logic as well. This is in the morning. Now, the agreed moveset I had with Ute had me going to Tutello. I think I meant to like support them into Erie, and I'm going to pull up into Ville Marie, something like that, is what I told you I would be doing. However, that is not what I actually do, and what I do is very similar to the moveset I decided I was going to do before I even started talking to you, which is I put 3 on Cherokee. I think these 2 support Catawba out. I know I'm not going to hold it in fall, but just by doing this, it forces them to basically commit 3 units to retake. There's no downside risk to me. I think the thing is, if Maryland supports Cherokee to Jamestown, but I'm going to bounce whatever's backfilling Great Plains, which means I'll be able to retake Jamestown in fall at worst case. But otherwise, I like that. As I've already said, these 2 are going to cover these 2 spots, so I can try to pull Seneca up into Ville Marie was the plan. Philadelphia, I think, is tapping Erie to prevent that from supporting something into Fort Detroit. And that's my set of moves that I've sort of come up with down here. The other one, Athabasca has told me that they're going to pop this unit so I can redeploy it elsewhere. I am okay with that initially. My initial plan was actually this taps to this while this is pulling this upward, which is the only guaranteed moveset where Seneca cannot be popped, because I'm preventing Ville Marie from supporting Erie up by tapping it here if Fort Detroit held it, and if it's being pushed down by Ville Marie being pushed down into Seneca by Fort Detroit helping it, that will brace. And Fort Detroit can't come through because both Erie and Ville Marie are cut. So this was the initial moveset I sort of come up with, which I thought was pretty clever. But then I decided that actually I'm going to try to pull this one back into Cree with the help of these 2. Because I figured this is going to move here, and then this is going to dislodge into here. And if Utes telling the truth, Ville Marie and Cree are going to pop on this square, where one of them's going to get disbanded. That's going to be pretty nice. And if you're not telling the truth, well, there's a chance to get Ville Marie anyway. I'm putting 2 on it. They might be doing, like, if they try to support Fort Detroit through, for example, to get into Seneca, or if Erie's the one going up, with both of these supporting, something like that. I also, another reason I decided to use Algonquin to support this move instead of trying to support this move was I thought it was quite highly likely that Cree cuts this. Because if Cree doesn't cut this and I do this exact moveset, Ville Marie gets dislodged every single time. So I come around to doing this. The other thing is that over here, because I've got Labrador Sea, I'm not going to hold Labrador Sea in through the spring. They've got so many units on it, but in the spring, I can tap this, which means I've got 2 on Escapi, and I'm going to go for it, thinking that they will be focused on Anticosti, and I will backfill Anticosti, something like this. And then which leaves me with one last thing. I can move back to I need to move back to cover Quebec in case Ville Marie moves, gets dislodged. But that leaves Tad open. My initial plan was to slide Attica over, but I figure I don't think Papa's going to randomly tap Tad here. I think it's going to be focused on Anticosti, which I'm hoping will bounce. Something like that. I figure Labrador's going to get is going to tap, and then it's going to retreat to Newfoundland, and then it's going to try and help me take Nescapi and fall. If this fails, I don't think I really expected this to work, or it's going to help defend Nescapi. That's this side of the world. Let's cross to Africa. Africa is a shit show. I've got both Safavids and Congo on side. The position, though, is so disjointed. So let's start with Congo. Congo, basically, they want Great Ardra, and if I agree to support them into Great Ardra, then they will do whatever I tell them to with Ouagadougou. Basically, they're happy to support me to Cormonton in fall. They're happy to support me to Jan in spring. Whatever. That's useful. Safavids really wants Timbuktu, but they will support me if I push them hard enough on it. However, this is just pretty much guaranteed to tap Niani, which means that it's really tying down 2 units. I can't move Niani without losing it. I can't move this out without it risking them doing something different. So this unit is so annoying. It's tying down 2 things at once. And I am very aware that it's very easy to pop Geba right now. So something like this, and then tap this, tap this, tap this. There's literally nothing I can do to prevent this being popped. If they do that move set. So I kind of gamble on, I want to pull this into here, and I basically want to use as many supports as possible and ask Safs to tap that. And that's what I'm sort of hyper focused on in spring, is avoiding this unit getting popped. This is probably my biggest tactical mistake for the year. When I see how all this plays out. Let's cycle back to what I told Portugal before. That, hey, you give me Ouagadougou and Agadez, you get Niani and Arguin, and then I get Cormonton. We both go +1. Also, when we'd had that discussion, they're like, if we're really going to peace out, we should try to detension it. Let's convoy Geba into South Africa, South America. And I'm like, I'm not sure about that. But then the blow up with Aymara happens publicly, and I'm talking to Portugal about it, and I'm like, I don't think they're going to throw, and the standard response to throwers is to kill them, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, let's do that convoy. And they're like, yeah, great. And in my head, Portugal does not believe a single thing about this. There's no way Portugal believes I'm going to do all this when I've got all these units around them. Anyway, it turns out Portugal believed every word I said. They enter convoy orders with these units. They just kind of support hold with this. They try to support this into Ouagadougou. They try to support this into Agadez. I completely bamboozled them, and I didn't realize it. And so I spent all this attention focused on taking this when I could have done so much more. For example, I could have worked with to take that, worked with to take this. That goes down there. Pressure on Jacob Ford as well. I didn't do any of that. So I really butchered this area in spring. Up here, this is an interesting one. So after the builds go through, but pretty early in spring phase, so Aymara's threatening to throw. I go to Safavids and be like, hey, do we have to cut Sweden? Can we find a way to finish it this year so we don't have to really worry about this throw and just get the game over? And they're like, I'm not sure. Like, Tokugawa's like 20% ahead. It's really risky. I'm like, can we just not attack Sweden in spring and then see if it's possible in fall? And they agree to that. And I go to Sweden. And I'm like, hey, so earlier Safavids and Tokugawa told me they wanted to cut you. I'm working on them now to not cut you. Can you peace with Safavids here in spring? And they're like, yeah, I'm absolutely on board with that. So that affects the spring planning between these two. And what winds up happening, without me really knowing, but makes perfect sense if I paid more attention to it, is that they unite and completely crush Austria, who have been working with Safavids this year. I'm also aware that there's a lot of pressure here, and Ender had been playing defensively. He'd just been doing like support holds and slowly losing ground. And I'm like, nah, the best way to defend is to slam units forward into an area which can't be held. But I'm gonna lose it in 4, but that's fine. I asked Austria to support me into Utrecht. I think I tapped that, and this backfills. And I also asked Austria to do this, and so we can pop Utrecht. And the blue is very invisible here. Let's just change to green. I figure if a game goes on, I'm going to take Utrecht. If there's a way to to impunity, I can just give it back. And same with Norwegian Sea, it doesn't actually hurt anything. I'm just keeping the position a little bit safer with units which otherwise aren't really doing anything. That's that there. Spain doesn't press much. Spain is very busy. I catch Spain once quite early on. They tell me that so they had been working with Portugal and now to try to press Iberian Current. I'm like, hey, can you just not do that? It's not going to get you anything. And they're like, sure, can you disband Bay of Biscay for me? Like this, and they'll disband on a retreat. I'm like, yeah, this is quite early on. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. But I'm getting along well with Spain. And then quite late in the phase, I still haven't heard from them, like an hour before spring is over. I'm like, I hadn't really paid much attention to this area till then too. And I'm like, hey, actually, can you just go to Galicia and we can work on Porto? So if you go there, one of us can get Porto in fall. Also, I'm going to throw a support here to get you into Mexico City. And I don't get a response, but this unit can't really do anything. Chitimacha's doesn't need defense. I can't move it away because if they do move onto Chitimacha, I need to be there to defend it. So I can't send this over to defend Baracoa, for example. So this unit's just sitting there doing nothing. I enter this support order. I order this here as said. I'm expecting this bounce, and then I can bounce Baracoa and fall. I tell Spain I'm doing this and do this. I don't get a response from them, but I don't really have any reason not to, right? And I think I put 2 on Sea Azores here. I think these try to bounce Arctic, I think is what I do with this. Yeah. Not really trying to get in there, just trying to stop them from doing stuff. This might have been tapping Labrador Sea. I'm not sure what I was doing in that one. This one was support holding Greenland Sea, actually, because I really do not want to lose Greenland in addition to Norwegian. Basically, I want 2 of these 3 sea tiles at all times. Alright, so those were the tactics. Let's see the moves. Alright, so as I said down here, Portugal believes me, tries to convoy me out, tries to help me into here. I do get Jijen. I do help Congo in here. Congo do what they said. Another small mistake here. I tried to take Kalina. I thought there was a risk that he would know he's lost Kalina, so he might try to move to Carib and then go to Orinoco and try to get pressure on these, or to just pressure Palmubo. But instead he just support holds, forcing me to take in fall, and that means that Guyana Current actually bounces with Portugal, who was coming in to help me on my attack on Omara. So accidentally shooting myself in the foot here, again, even though Portugal's done all this stupidly favourable moves to me, I just cock them all up while stabbing them. So that was another tactical mistake down there. Spain does read all my messages like in the grace period and puts the support through, take Mexico City. Ute believes I'm going to do the plan we agreed with them, so they try to sneak into Jamestown. Instead, they get bounced here. and this all stays in place. They changed the moveset they had agreed with Athabasca turns out to be true. Atha does exactly this. Ute does it as well, except I think at the last minute they changed their mind. Instead of moving into Philadelphia, they moved into New Amsterdam. Up here, they didn't tap Algonquin. They actually moved into Anishinaabe and tried to convoy down here. But because I'd put 3 on it, they'd also put 3 on it. This bounces. Midshift gets popped, but this unit all do absolutely nothing. I'm very happy with that. So even though they're in here, Cree is now empty. And they actually went for a core here in Nascapi, and that's a pop. And I'm very happy with that. I love popping a unit. This here is a brace. None of these units move. So the only dot I lost in spring was New Amsterdam. I didn't get Ville Marie, but I gained Nascapi, and I lost an army there. So I'm actually positive in North America in spring, and I'm very happy with that. Spain does move into Galicia. I do try to move into Sea of Azores and get bounced here, so now they're in Madeira Plain. I do get the pop on Utrecht with Austria's help. Thank you very much, Austria. I have 3 here. They put 3 there, so I hold North Sea still. I gain Norwegian Sea because this doesn't cut even, and that does get cut. I hold Greenland Sea, so I get Norwegian Sea and Utrecht, which Sweden's a little bit miffed about. They're like, hey, I thought we agreed that we're going to try impunity. To which my response is just, look, if you need to keep Utrecht for us impunity, I can just walk out of it if I think it's possible, and if not, well, I'm going to keep it. You don't need that fleet to fight Austria. That fleet's only useful for fighting me. That's popped. Fine with that. Safavids and Sweden, they work together here, so Safavids comes in on Austria. Austria is moving around here, but they don't get much. I'll go over the tactical stuff with that a little bit later. Sweden does take Verk, which miss Safs, but again, that's another example like Utrecht of we can give it back. Oh, that's right. Something else. Right at the start, when I joined, I sent one of the first things I asked Tokugawa was, hey, as a good sign of good faith that you're not trying to solo, give Safavids 2 dots in spring. If you don't do that, like it's pretty clear that like you're trying to solo and we'll be working against you. And they say, sure, I'll walk out of Kraz and Kara, which I know what they're doing here. I knew the whole time what they were doing here, but it was a bit of plausible deniability because they'd said yes and I couldn't ask for more. But these are the 2 dots which are impossible for Safavids to take if Tokugawa wants them back in fall. And when we come to the moves, Russia, who is their vassal, bounces one of them, and Safavid's in the other one. If we look at the results, Safavids can't hold this. Like, they're surrounded by 3 units. There are none adjacent. They didn't get to Karakoram. So Tokugawa technically did what I asked, and I can't. But they were not helpful. What it did do is, I guess, it prevented Tokugawa from advancing further on Safavid's turn. So I guess it was useful in that regard. But they technically did what I said, but they didn't really. They did not hand over these dots. Their vassal bounced one of them, which they could. If I didn't even bother being like, why didn't you let them in Karakoram? They'd be like, oh, Russia told me to bounce. Russia bounced because they just did, because I didn't know they were going to do that. They tried to dot me, whatever. It would have been a lie. I didn't even bother asking them about it. It was just so bleedingly obvious. So that happens there. But overall, Tokugawa's position isn't crazy good. They're going to go positive this year, but if everyone just defends their guaranteed dots, they're only going to go like +1, and I'll break that down further. But before that, these moves actually came out on Valentine's Day. These moves at like 9 a.m. my time. And that morning, I sent a message out before moves, being like, hey, it's Valentine's Day. I'm not going to be doing any press today after these moves come out, just so everyone knows. I do glance at my phone and sort of see that things went pretty good over here, but I'm not able to respond to anyone's press for like the next 9 hours, which is the evening for all of the Americans and Europeans after they have seen the moves. So when I come back in the evening and look at everything, I've been put on blast again by Ute for being such a duplicitous schemer. Like, I was lying, they knew I was lying. Just more of me being bad at the game, basically. And I'm sick of it. I'm juggling so many things right now. I've been talking for 51 minutes already about just the stuff I've been doing over these like 4 days, and I'm probably going to talk for another 50 minutes. And I'm sick of it. And they've been putting me on blast in both public and private press, and I'm just like, nah, I don't need to talk to them anymore. Clearly we're fighting. I don't need their cooperation with anything for the 6 months I'm going to be around, because I know I'm starting back out at the end of the year. And I put a message in the public press being like, I'm muting you. We don't need to talk anymore. The Athapaska sends me a message as well, being like, hey, that all went great, right? You countered the moves that I told you. Here with this brace, I popped Mitchif. You popped Nascapi, which wasn't very nice. But that all went well, didn't it? And I think I make a mistake in my response to this, which I will get to in a minute. But that was their initial reaction. Portugal doing absolutely everything that we'd agreed to threw me so much. I just did not understand that they did it. And I sent them a message back, oh man, I'm so sorry. I did not know you were going to believe me. If I knew you were going to believe me, I would have stabbed you so much harder. Which I would have been I don't know if they thought that was funny or not, but I just thought this position demanded that we fight, and they made the same assessment the previous year when England had made some peace offers to them, but with me, they believed it. So let's come to the results of spring. So I'm falling back on my retreats. This is going to Newfoundland Banks. I already knew that, as to help me hold Nascapi after getting that pop. Pretty sure Sweden goes here. That's right. So at this time, I go around the board to everyone who has borders with Tokugawa and be like, hey, if you don't want to lose the game to a solo, because that is a very much a risk here, do these moves. So like Portugal, support hold this, you will not lose a dot. Ayutthaya, retreat to SBO. If you do this, then there's no way for Ayutthaya to take this and hold Chile. They will only be able to get 2 of those. So retreat to SBO and then either work with Portugal on work or work with Mapuche on Chile. Do one of those 2. Guarantees Tokugawa loses a dot. I tell Portugal, hey, cover Moristad, cover St. Helena. No way Tokugawa gets a dot. Tell Ute, just retreat to one of these 2 and then bounce the other one. No way Tokugawa gets a dot. That's literally the last message I sent to Ute. To Arthur just support hold. Just support hold. No way you lose a dot. Just do these things so we don't lose. I know I'm not best friends with most of you, but these are the things you need to do. That extends to Mughals, who I say, hey, if you tap Hyderabad, that guarantees, with the moveset I'm about to show you all, the Safavids won't lose any of their dots here, and Safavids are the blocker, so please do this. And they're like, I'm not doing anything unless it's good for me. And I'm like, all right, well, fair enough. But that is one of the conversations I'm sort of having with everyone. I don't even bother talking to Ming or Russia. In my head, these two are just Tokugawa vassals, and that is something which is so bleedingly obvious to me, but apparently wasn't obvious to everyone, because Safavids winds up trusting Ming, and it winds up costing them a dot in Xining in fall, which I did not budget on. So, now we're in dot counting time. Oh, that's right. So Tokugawa moved into SAO2 in spring. They messaged me late in the phase asking me to support them, and I'm like, hell no, I don't want to give you a dot, but I said yes because why not? Because now I know what that fleet's doing. And then I go to Portugal. I'm like, hey, this is actually good news for me because I still think Portugal is going to fight me. And one of the things I'm scared of is sending a fleet into an AO where they can dot any one of all my dots and I can't do anything about it. And I say, hey, you need to keep 2 fleets in SAO to cover Moristed and St. Helena because Tokugawa's going to come there. And I know that because they asked me to support them. And I told them no, but I don't know which one they're going to. It's a lie. I know they're going to 2. But this is good because it'll stop the fleets from coming north. I also send my own fleet into SAO4 from Goanna Current, and then I backfilled. I do this, from Leeward Sea. Originally, I was just going to hang around Leeward Sea in order to help defend, but then I figure I can't defend everything. I might not be defending against anything, but if I go to SAO4, that's an extra dot I might get in Morstad or St. Helena. And if Tokugawa's here and they actually want to have a group impunity, they can support me into St. Helena. And that's a +1 dot. I only need 3. I need 3 dots to get there, right? So I've got 1 here in Colina. That's guaranteed. I'm expecting to go neutral through all this, in addition to now that Mexico... Yucatan's empty, so Belize is safe. Spain actually bounced Gulf of Honduras instead of Windward Passage, so Barracoa is safe here. So I'm expecting to go +1 across all the Americas. I've got Utrecht, which is +2. Congo is still super friendly, so that's knots. And I should be able to get to Gen, but I'm going to lose... The way the units work in Africa, so this is going to take this, and then this can bounce or take that. So like effectively these units cancel out, they don't do anything. This is a guaranteed take if they do it this way. For some reason they've been trying it the other way for the last year and a half. I tap this just in case I keep doing it wrong. But so effectively I'm -1 with all this. Then I'm cancelled 0 there, and then I should be able to get to Gen, but as well. So that should mean I'm +1 through all this, which would be 1, 2, 0. I'm expecting 0 here. I don't think I can hold both Nascapi and Enti. I'm expecting to lose 2 of these. I'm going to lose UAM and one of these 2. I'm going to gain Ville Marie and Nascapi. So I'm 0 here. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, and there's one more somewhere. Yeah, 1 down here. -1 +0 +1. So 1, 2, 3, and then yeah, that's my +3 basically. With chances on Porto if Spain helps me, because there is a risk if Madrid taps it. Chances on St. Helena if Tokugawa helps me. But I found my +3 basically to get there. However, Sweden's position, they're not going to get there without a lot of help. They do have Yakutsk if Tokugawa lets them. So a lot of this with the dot counting comes down to if Tokugawa helps us get the impunity, we got the impunity. If they don't, it becomes real iffy. And this is the table I come up with figuring all that out. So Tokugawa is going to gain 3 dots here. Nanking work, and it's either Gulmurgen or Timor. They should be losing these two. They might lose, not gain work, and instead keep Chilo. It's the same deal. So guaranteed, they should be going +1 on the guaranteed. They don't have any other gains which look likely or losses look likely, and then they might get thrown 2 dots from Amara. This should be Toku +1 year, or a +3 at worst, which leads to Safavids. So the Safavids stab on Austria went really well. They have movesets that guarantee these 3, and I convinced them that if they hand over these 3 dots to Sweden, they're still going to be in range of Tokugawa of 30%. Unless like Tokugawa gets thrown 2, and even then they only need like 2 of these other dots, which they're like 2 of these ones to offset the throw dots if that happens, which people have don't really think is going to happen now. They're not really likely to lose anything. This is all with the sort of guaranteed movesets that come out. I don't have any guaranteed gains across all of the Americas. It's highly likely. There is the moveset I come up with Athapas that in relation to Athapaska should get me a gain. I don't think there's only like one thing they could do to not get me it. I should get Cormonton if Congo helps me. So that's 2, and then there's these 4, I guess, iffy gains. Being St. Helena if Tokugawa helps me. If Portugal stuffs up really badly, I get an extra 1 there. If Athapaska stuffs up really badly, I get another 1 there. And then Porto if Spain helps me there. So I need 56. I think I'm going to get 2, and then I only need like 1 of these ones to get me the rest of them. Sweden, they have an interesting like dot swap with Austria, where they should go +1. Then there's the 3 handed over dots from Safavids. They have basically 50-50s on how these ones are going to work out, depending on which moveset Austria is going to go to. They could lose both of them. Well, hopefully they only lose 1 of them, and then that will get them to 32 exactly if they only lose 1 of these 2. Or Tokugawa just gives them Yakuts. So I basically convince... Oh, and also I give Sweden back Utrecht. I convince Safavids and Sweden that it is possible. Sweden's pretty happy to just take the free 4 dots that we're giving them. I'm giving them Utrecht back, and Safavid's going to give them 3 dots. Safavid's, I think, has got Uni starting back up again soon, so they're super keen to end the game. It's been going on for a long time. And so I start coming up with movesets for everyone. So let's see if I can go through my Discord and find some of the fun things I do with the movesets. I do not have this prepared. Let's start with Athapaska. Right, so I come clean to Athapaska. I send them this big long message after the spring moves go through and tell them that, hey, I'm really sorry, but you told me what your moves were going to be, and because they'd offered to stab, I obviously went along with it, but clearly they're leaking moves. You shouldn't be able to trust them. Anyway, here is my moveset. Here is what I'm going to do in fall. You've got 2 options here, the way I see it. You can, because you're going to coordinate with Ute, you can ask Ute to, you can tap Oneida. If you tap Oneida, then Ute's going to get New Amsterdam, you're still going to lose Ville Marie. You're going to go -1. Ute's going to go +1, and I'm going to go +0. Or you can not tap Oneida. You can have Ute support you into Seneca, and you backfill Erie. Sorry, I'm going to go I'm going to go -1 in either one of these two options rather. So you can do Detroit, Ville Marie into Seneca. You let Oneida pull me into New Amsterdam, and then Erie taps Philadelphia. Athabasca, you get to go +1, or you can go tap Oneida. You go lose Ville Marie. For Detroit and Erie work on Seneca, and then you go +0. Basically, if you tap Oneida, you're going to go neutral, or you can not tap Oneida and you can gain an extra dot. I'm losing a dot either way. The question is, do you want the dot or you get the dot? This is my moveset. Thing is, I lied. This is almost my moveset. What Seneca does is Seneca taps Philadelphia. If they go for the Ville Marie into Seneca line with Erie into Philadelphia and Oneida dislodging New Amsterdam, Seneca is going to bounce Erie and I'm going to keep Philadelphia, and I actually will I will lose Seneca, but I will gain Ville Marie and this, and I will go neutral here. That's the only line I see where I go neutral. So I actually throw a very small line there in, but you might say, why would they believe this moveset? Effectively, there were only two real normal movesets here. I could support in Oneida into New Amsterdam here, or I could do it Oneida supports Philadelphia into New Amsterdam. It's one of those two is like practically guaranteed, so it's just which way around I do it. I could have lied. This Seneca tap was the lie here. Athabasca winds. I don't know if they believe me in the end, but they do wind up tapping Oneida, so they don't. So Ute does get to keep New Amsterdam, and I think a New Amsterdam supports Erie into Philadelphia. So I lose these two, and I hold Seneca with Ville Marie in the end. And that was essentially the end of my press with Athabasca. It didn't really matter. So I'll just take it off screen while I scroll through everything. So with Safavids, I come up with move sets for them and send them like, hey, just do this. I've worked it all out. My favorite one I send them is my Portugal moveset in India, which is this. Basically, their position with Port is all interwoven. The best way to defend all your dots is to just tap every single one of theirs. Anything you do which is a support hold has some other line around it, so it's just double cut Baruch. This taps this, this taps this, this taps that, this taps this, and they can't get a guaranteed line on anything. But this is why I told Mughals to tap Hyderabad, Sky Tire tap Allahabad, or whatever that one is. They wind up not doing these two, but Portugal didn't actually use those in a moveset where it would counter this. But otherwise, this guaranteed that Safavids went plus Surat, and they were never going to lose any of their other dots if they did this. And they really like that. I also organized the moveset with Sweden, which is this. Basically, Austria has the option to draw a support hold here, which might keep this one, but it means they would lose Constantinople. We're hoping that Spain is willing to do this. Spain instead winds up support holding Sarajevo, but they do tap here, which means Smyrna is guaranteed. Ochkiv's already fallen. All this was part of the arranged handover. I organised Safavid's line in Asia against Tokugawa as well, of which the best bit was this pull here. I figured that this is Yenisei is going to bounce Yakutsk, and that means the only way that Safavids can't actually hold this dot. but they can try to do a brace by moving out of this dot if Russia goes for this exact move set. Anyway, this works, and I'm very, very happy about this, because if this doesn't work, we would have lost. That's how close it came here. So this brace wound up being the difference. I did actually make a mistake here. I think, so my assessment here was that, so Gobi can tap Lanzhou, Xi'an can support Chengdu into Xining, but so you can lose Xining, but Tokugawa can't get Chengdu because Shanxi would bounce through the Ringa Punga. So that's why I sent this moveset Safavids. They didn't do this though. They wound up trusting Ming, and they threw support holds in Chengdu, and they wound up having Chengdu supported into Xining and Shanxi backfield. So this was this made the margin for error very small when that one came through. They did get Kunming though. This support did work. Aitai did help out. And these ones were just covering the dots all around here. And then the other moveset I came up with was with Sweden. So I don't have a map of this. They wound up doing most of it because it was on my mobile at the time. So is it this one? Yeah. So Ruthenia, cover all the dots around it. Every single one of these dots is covered. We've already got Vienna. There was a very interesting guessing game around what these units should do. If we just go to the clean map. Is that the... Yeah, I guess those two units did pop. So, and it boiled down to, you can bounce in, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this, you can bounce that there, but that won't work if they throw a support hold on it. So maybe you shouldn't bounce it, but if they could try to, say, use convoy, support that in there like this. That's probably not going to happen because that just retreats there. What they could do is they could cover this and then backfill with this while doing that. And if you're trying to, if you're not bothering this, or they could, it wasn't the move. It was, it's all coming. So that's going to do this. It's going to be will Freiburg support hold Innsbruck, or will Freiburg support Nuremberg while Innsbruck stays in place. That's essentially what it boils down to. And that meant Sweden had a couple options. Here's a crappy grainy photo of my laptop with the decision matrix that I sent to Sweden. Basically, depending on which option they go for, they will have a -1 option or a -2, or there's one line where they got a +0 on this side of the board, and again asterisks and whatever. They could, if Spain supports, then there was a line where going into split became worth it if Spain was willing to support you, but if Spain doesn't support it, or Spain support is cut, it wound up being the worst line, so they didn't go for that. It's essentially a really complicated 50-50 over here. Anyway, moves go through. So let's start over here. Athapaska does cut Oneida. Actually, I didn't even talk about this. I was so proud when I figured this out. There's no guaranteed way to hold an escape from this situation, you would think. They can put 3 on an escape like this, and then cut Enti, and then sorry. They let's say they put 2 on Enti and cut Nescapi. Enti falls, right? Nothing you can do about that. Unless Nescapi taps. If Nescapi taps, though, you're weak to them pulling into Nescapi, which effectively made it a guessing game. However, I did figure out and that what I could do is if I cut with this and with this, which means that Mishikamu can't support Papa into Enti or support Kuch down into Nescapi, then NAO2 cuts Labrador. Nufi goes into Nescapi to brace against them putting 2 onto Nescapi. And Attica cuts Papina. The only thing that can go wrong is that means these 2 are guaranteed held. The only thing that can go wrong is if he randomly taps Tad, which I thought was not likely. So I was very happy when I figured out that little cheeky play. So yeah, Papa gets cut. So I hold all these. I get Ville-Marie. I lose New Amsterdam, but I lose Philadelphia because New Amsterdam supports Irian. So I lost those 2. I did go neutral across this. This bounces, which was expected. I do get Kalina, Jamaica, Baracoa. So one of my +1s is here, and it is there. Over here, I did have a really complicated little guessing game here as well. I could essentially boil down to, does Busa support Agadez in, or does it try to backfill Degen when, and I said Degen to take Jacob Fort, was what I wound up. And it works depending on which line Portugal goes, because there's 4 options for Portugal. There's the one they went for, which is supporting Messina down. They could have supported Timbuktu down. They could have supported Jacob Fort up, or they could have supported held Timbuktu. The line I went for would have worked against a supporting Timbuktu down because Belsa would have bounced, but Agadez would have backfilled and Hausa would have backfilled Agadez. So it's effectively me getting Timbuktu. It also worked against some support holding, but instead they went for the Messina down route instead. This trade, I lose that. That was all to be expected. I got Cormenton. So effectively here I gained 1, 2, 3, but I lost 1, 2. So I think I'm +1 here. I give Utrecht back. Spain does support me into Porto, though, and I get there. Which means that I do get my +3 just. Tokugawa does not support me to St. Helena. I do not know for certain, but I would put money on what happened here was Tokugawa said, yes, I'll support you into St. Helena. I'm happy to go for the joint impunity. Then went to Sweden and went, hey, England's going for St. Helena, just bounce it. I'm your best bud. I'm telling you what they're doing. Oh, by the way, here's a moveset you should do against Ajiran here to cover this. And then they dot Keiko, which never should have been able to take. This is a +1 dot which Tokugawa got, which I did not expect to happen. Over here, this is another one where Portugal just, I guess, trying to protect this. Instead, they lost Makassar because this one slips in behind. So it's another dot which Tokugawa got, which they never should have gotten. They do work with Aitire at least to get this. And importantly, Amara doesn't throw. Amara doesn't give Tokugawa anything. They tried to support me here, but that was never going to work. So I'd budgeted that Tokugawa should have gone +1. They went +3. But I had accounted for them going +3 in case Amara had thrown. So I got my +3, which got me there. Safavids, I think, also got +3 or something in the end. After handing over these dots to Sweden, they got Ochkiv, they got Smyrna, they got Surat, then they got Hawara. And then Sweden got all these dots fed to them. And sum of all that is we got the impunity. We secured the impunity vote. All four of us got to 100%. Just me and Sweden just got there. Made enough 50-50s. Which means now we vote. And Tokugawa is inclined to vote no, is what they tell us. And ultimately they do. They vote no because they believe they can solo. And in the next year, they do go and solo. They go +5, I think, the next year. And even though England went +8 the next year, Safavids and Sweden both don't do enough, and Tokugawa gets a solo. Which begs the question, what could I have done different in my 1 year as England that could have tried to prevent the Tokugawa solo? If I did not bring Sweden up to impunity, if I did not arrange Safavid's hand over the things, Safavid's, instead of being at 109 here, is at another +3 dots. It's like plus another 9% or something. Safavid's at 120. Tokugawa probably doesn't think they're close. The year after that, Tokugawa gets to 150. Safavid's probably at like 130. Sweden can get over the line then. Does Tokugawa say yes in that vote if I waited 1 year instead of doing this? Maybe. Instead of organising a peace between Sweden and Safavid entirely, do we just slam Sweden? England and Safavids both would have gone higher here. And then we'd go for the triple in like probably another year after next year. Would that have been possible? Or does Tokugawa still outscale? Did I lose the game by securing an impunity? That's the question. I don't know. I think I made the best choices I had in the moments I was in. Tokugawa did say they would accept an impunity if it was given. They did not show any inclination to help get there, but that's very different to voting no when it's actually in front of you. But they did vote no, and they did secure the solo the next year. After the spring moves, it appeared inevitable, and so and Ender did not have the press output required, like what I was doing in this previous year, in order to try to organise anything, and it just did not seem possible with the position that Tokugawa had secured in spring versus what Safavids, England and Sweden had. And Toku solid. So well done to Astro for that. Yeah, that is 1 year of late game England from a very disjointed position where we're pressed to all hell in North America, getting pressed by a whole bunch of fleets in Sweden, messy as all hell Africa. I was able to pull together a +3 and set up England to go +8 the following year, but that wasn't enough. But I'm still pretty proud of the result. I absolutely ruined my sleep for this week. I was pressing people at all hours of the day. I was super stressed. I didn't even mention something else which happened, which I can't believe I blew past this, was that after I told you I'm not pressing you anymore, I went to bed and I woke up the next morning at 6 a.m. and saw that they'd put me on blast in public press again, and I was just jack of it. And I lashed out at them and I told them to F off, and that the lashing for like doing exactly what they did. Like they were telling me off for lying and like suggesting shit plans. I'm like, this is exactly what you did. And I lashed out at them. Not my finest moment. But yeah, just I'm new to the game and I'm not used to being abused in public when I'm actually doing an incredible job. I think when everyone saw this result come out, they were very shocked. But then Tokugawa said no, so it wound up not mattering. Yeah, it takes a lot to pull together a crap position managing the board. I didn't even mention that I organised Adjoran and Congo's moves against Portugal in fall as well. I helped coordinate them to ally and work against Portugal after being fighting in the last couple of years as well, to ensure that Portugal wound up going like -8 or 9 this year, so that the next year England when Ender returned, had a great line on Portugal because they were disbanding so many. I organised half of Spain's moves, both again with Mexico City over here and then against Porto here, and organising against Austria here. I organised most of Safford's moves. I organised most of Sweden's moves. I organised all of my own moves. I organised most of Congo's and Adjoran's moves. And I didn't know these people a week before that. I entered the game and I was if you press hard and no one else is, you can get a lot done. But I do not intend to play a late game colonial for a while. That was way too much. So that's it. B2B was the game. If you want to check out the server and have a look at any of the extra details in there, happy to answer any questions. If you have anything on this, I'm sure I missed a whole bunch as well. But thanks for watching.